Media has been around for over 100 years. And there was newspaper and then radio and then television and then social media. Athletes have been around as long as humans have existed. 2,000 years ago, there were competitions held in ancient Rome, but in the modern form, it's been about 150 years, each getting more synthesized and understood with athletes and athletics. I'm Taylor Viles, and in this video, I'm going to be discussing how athletes use their platform to create the social change. Media and athletes should mix well if done right. That's true with media and anything, though. Media is there to inform people about what's going on, but more and more over recent years, we see that media kind of forces an agenda on people. They give their opinion, tell you what you should believe in. More and more athletes have started to use their platform to create social change, which through this video, we will see that that is actually a good thing. It's something that has been starting to happen more and more over recent years. I spoke with James Perry, the Associate Director for Diversity and Equity Inclusion for the Donahue Institute here at LaSalle University, and he said recognizing the importance of speaking out is very important as a human race.
If we're going to be a human race and we look at each other as human beings, then we need to care about each other as human beings and recognize the differences and experiences that we go through based off of our social identities and the way sort of society is structured and how people are treated differently and such.
When an athlete specifically speaks out on something, it is the media that informs us what they are saying. If not for the media, we wouldn't really understand or know what the athlete is saying. But there have been many times the athlete has gotten in trouble for what they've said when they speak out, and people say they should stick to playing sport, not speaking out, and the media will kind of help us understand or even tell us what they want us to believe in that situation, like I was saying earlier. But because the issues raised are so important at the time of expression, people, including the media, can get in trouble for how they handle what's been said, just like the athlete can get in trouble. Perry said that it's admirable for athletes to speak up with their viewpoints because their platform gives them an opportunity that most people don't even have.
So many people watch sports, right? And they look at it like, oh, this is an escape. And, they get really into it and they buy into the whole idea of like a team and like certain players and such. So for a player to kind of, put their own situation aside with respect to sports and put themselves on the line as far as like raising awareness to something, it's super admirable. And, there's nuances to it too, obviously, but there's a long history of athletes in particular speaking out against issues and kind of compromising their own safety nets to be sure to do that. Doing things like that, but using your platform just to bring awareness to stuff that maybe the people who are suffering are not able to do it themselves, it's something that's important.
The biggest issues that have been fought by athletes over recent years are different versions of Black Lives Matter, wage gap inconsistencies, and COVID-19. These big issues can bring big attention, which is why a lot of athletes will talk about them. So let's talk about some of these big cases. In 1968, this is one of the first real large cases of an athlete speaking out over something, and that was Tommie Smith and John Carlos, who made it to the podium for their sport in the Olympics. And when they were there, they held up a Black Power sign that you can see displayed right here. They were really some of the first people to speak out on such an important social issue. Obviously, this was right around the time of the March on Washington with Martin Luther King. And Tommie Smith and John Carlos, well, they showed that they cared and that they wanted to use their platform. But as you can see, this is a photograph, and a photograph is part of media, and the media really helped get this publicized, even if they didn't believe in it at the time, which a lot of people were split on different decisions like this or different topics. The media helped publicize issues like this. In 2005, Venus Williams fought for equal pay. She's obviously a famous tennis star, and she found out that her male counterparts who won championships, got a lot more money than the females that played tennis and won. And she fought for this, and a couple years later in 2007, when she won a championship, she was given the same amount of money as the man who won that same championship. So she broke that and came away with something else. I say in 2012, but it's really happened for many years. But LeBron James has fought racism, he's fought police brutality. We're going to touch on him a little bit later on in this video, but LeBron James is just another one who has been a big advocate for so much social change. In 2016, Colin Kaepernick took a knee to fight police brutality. Now, he's someone who actually sacrificed his career in the NFL to fight an issue, to bring awareness to an issue. Perry and I discussed the Kaepernick situation and why there are two sides to the outcome of what he chose to do. There's no denying the fact that because he took a knee is why he's not in football anymore.
You put yourself out there, and that's a risk, right? Like so people already know that's a risk. And it can come with a lot of things, not just losing your job, but a lot of other things too. But the response to it is what ends up what their goal is in responding to it in that manner, as far as blacklisting him, is to deter others from doing the same thing, right? For that to not just snowball, and now everybody's just constantly talking about this or bringing awareness about this or protesting in that manner.
Do you think, in a way, Colin Kaepernick was successful in his protest just because he's brought such an unbelievable amount of awareness to the topic of police brutality and just even protest in general?
Yeah, for sure. So it's double-sided, right? So for him, that was how he chose to protest, right? And bring awareness about things. But at the end of the day, he worked really hard. It's a very small amount of percentage of people who strive to be in the NFL actually get the opportunity to do so and do it well, right? So he has that opportunity that he worked for, and then it gets stripped away from him. So he loses what he's passionate and loves, right? But to your point, yes, he was able to use his platform and raise awareness to this issue in ways that many others who may be passionate about this aren't able to. All of the particular situations I have mentioned in the past couple of minutes, they were able to be made because the status of the players were so big that they were able to make a change. They were able to do something with the power that they have. The media can promote in effective ways and the media can promote in demeaning ways. But the question is, are both of those bad? And the answer is not entirely. There's an old expression that all news coverage is effective news coverage. And so even if an anchor or the media says something demeaning about an issue, unless the issue is entirely everyone disagrees with this issue, then this could even help bring more light to whatever is being talked about. We saw this situation in 2018. And LeBron James had been speaking out more and more on multiple social issues, and Fox News anchor Laura Ingraham took exception to his comments, and she decided to voice her opinion, something that is done more and more in today's media.
And it's always unwise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid $100 million a year to bounce a ball. Oh, and LeBron and Kevin, you're great players, but no one voted for you. Millions elected Trump to be their coach. So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble.
From this clip, we can see just how much of an effect athletes' words can have on people. What Ingraham said brought more light to the issue that LeBron was fighting for, giving him more power in the process. Perry gave his opinions on the shut up and dribble comment and said that using sports as a whole as a platform to raise these issues is important.
You can't separate it. There's no, as much as people can view it as this is an escape, even saying that comes from a privileged place, right? So when you say, oh, this is an escape, I'd rather leave politics and social issues out of sports, it's that's not really possible for many people. A lot of things that people are bringing awareness to are things that they themselves or people close to them go through on a daily basis. You can't remove that part of you just in the sports world. So to say, oh, just stop it, just go and play and don't say anything, again, it's dismissive. It comes from a privileged place to be able to even hold that stance. But it's, if more athletes and people in the public eye I wish would do it, but there's a lot of backlash, as that comes from that, not just from the media, but even from the corporations and such. People lose out on things when they when they do that.
I do want to touch on another issue briefly, which that's the Aaron Rodgers situation. Rodgers, a very popular quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, tested positive for COVID, as so many people have over the last couple of years. And that's not the issue, though. The issue is that he told reporters at the beginning of the season that he had been immunized, and he was dishonest because he had not been immunized for the COVID-19 vaccine. He'd been immunized for something else and withheld that information from the media, which makes him look like a bad influence for a lot of people, a lot of children even, that follow him. And resulting in this situation, Aaron Rodgers was taken off a lot of the State Farm commercials that he did on TV. They didn't want to be led by a person like that anymore. And it wasn't a good situation. And the media really took this and ran with it and showed that you can't do this. And it just shows how the media can really lift you up or they can tear you down. In a situation like Rodgers, it wasn't the situation that LeBron was going through where the reporter was saying something derogatory on him which made him look better. It was a situation where reporters all came for his throat because he did something that was wrong. So now that brings us to the final aspect of this, of media, and that is social media. That is this new, big, broad thing called social media, and this helps get the word out. Social media can be a great way to support your cause on your own terms, and it's easy because you don't have to talk to anyone in person. You can just voice your opinion. Social media helps athletes get their ideas out. It helps the media, the news and print media, figure out what athletes want to talk about and figure out things to cover. It lets people, just the common people, stay in touch with their favorite athletes and what they want. But it does have its dangers. As I said, you don't have to talk to someone to their face, so you can say whatever you want to on social media. Social media can help you elevate your status. You can gain followers by saying great things or popular things, or really raise attention, raise social issues like all these people have done, and that has been done over the last few years with multiple movements. Hope you've enjoyed this video on how athletes use their platform to create a social change. As you can see, it's very in-depth. There's so much that goes into this topic, and I covered some of the big situations in sports in recent years. I'm Taylor Viles, and have a great night.